What is up, everybody? Matt Moda here with Daily Grind Fantasy. The NBA season, we have a full slate of games tonight, and I have two Underdog fantasy entries for you guys to lock in. I found both of these entries using the Daily Grind Fantasy correlation tool to find these picks. It's the very first two plays that you see on the screen here. We're specifically using the correlation tool for the games Celtics versus Knicks and the Mavericks versus Spurs. Both of these plays have a profit margin of above 100%, which is why I decided to choose them with a correlation score above 80% as well. I'll obviously get into what all of that stuff means. I first just want to talk to you about the correlation tool, how it works, why it's such an amazing tool. First, let's talk about how it works. And to give you a hint about the first two plays in this Celtics versus Knicks slip, we're taking Jaylen Brown over assists, and we're taking Derek White over points. So if you want to go ahead, pull up your Underdog Fantasy app, add those two to your slip. It's going to be the first two, as I mentioned, that we're going to be adding to this slip. But the way the correlation tool works, it finds plays on each individual DFS book. So right now we see a bunch on Underdog, and I'm not even sure which one this is, but we see one here. If we scroll down, we see a Prizepicks, we see a parlay play. You see a bunch of different DFS books. What it does is it finds plays that have a positive correlation with each other, meaning if one hits, the other one is more likely to hit as well. In this case, we're doing 2 5-pick entries, so it's going to be 10 plays total. But all 5 of these individual picks for each game are positively correlated together, meaning if one hits, the other ones are more likely to hit as well. And what's really, really cool about the correlation tool and what's really cool about these DFS books is if you were to place a positive correlated bet on FanDuel, on DraftKings, they're going to decrease the payout of those slips because of that positive correlation. The sports books take into account, hey, these are correlated, right? If one's going to hit, the other one's also more likely to hit. Because of that, they will reduce your odds. The DFS sports books don't do that. They give you the same exact payout no matter what individual plays you add. So you can find some really good value on these correlated slips. And if you don't believe me, the results speak for themselves. So Daily Grind Fantasy has been tracking every single slip that shows up on the correlation tool. So we see there's a ton here. Now they just added NBA, so there's a lot more here than there normally is. So you're going to see a wider swing of variance. But regardless, they track every single play that shows up on the correlation tool and then track them just for 1 unit plays each. So since August 18th, which is when they started this, they are up, the correlation tool, I should say, is up 209 units. That's really good. It's just over 2 months. You're up 209 units. Think about it. If you were to just bet $10, depending on what your unit size is, even as low as $10 on every single slip, you would be up over $2,000 in just 2 months of doing this. Just over 2 months, 2 months and 2 weeks, something like that, with an ROI of 19.55%. That type of success is ridiculous. And as you can see, that's including a little bit of a cold streak. And this is kind of what a typical sports betting graph looks like. It's generally up and to the right, which is a good thing, but there are going to be some downswings as well. That's just the nature of sports betting, right? We see constantly up, little downswing, up, downswing, a lot of up, down, up, and then pretty brutal downswing recently with a little upcharge recently, then down a little bit. But that's just the nature of sports betting. 209 units in just over 2 months is an insane run. And anybody telling you that they are profiting 19.5% ROI is probably a liar. Like professional sports bettors are making like 3 to 5% ROI. This is an insane number. So yeah, $10 unit size, you're up over $2,000 in 2 months. So that's how the tool works. That's the history of success. Let's talk about these two numbers on the right here, and then I will get into my actual slip. So the one on the far right is the correlation score. The one to the left of it is your profit margin. So the correlation score, this number is calculated by the correlation coefficient of each leg. I know that sounds like a mouthful. All you really need to know is that this number is giving you exactly how correlated the slips are, or the plays are together. 84%, right? You want this number obviously to be in the green. 84% is pretty good. And then the profit margin takes into account the correlation score, and it adds up the EV, the expected value of each individual play as well. Because yes, all of the plays on the slip are going to have a positive correlation. They all need to be positive expected value as well. So the profit margin takes into account your correlation score, and it adds up all your individual plays, the positive expected value. And here's our slip. Let's just talk through it. Play number 1, as I mentioned, I wasn't lying. Derek White over 10.5 points. Next up, I wasn't lying again. Jaylen Brown over 3.5 assists. Then we have Drew Holiday under 4.5 rebounds. RJ Barrett over 2.5 assists. And Josh Hart over 8.5 points. Now the rebounds one is strictly a positive expected value play, but the assists and the points, both overs being correlated, makes sense, right? Jaylen Brown goes over his assist total. Maybe he's passing a little bit more than usual, so he's less likely to go over his point total. But if one of his teammates goes over their point total, that would make sense, right? Who is he passing the ball to? Probably not to Derek White every single time, but if he is dishing more than expected, other players on the Celtics are going to be the beneficiary. Same thing here with RJ Barrett and Josh Hart. RJ Barrett, we're taking him to go over 2.5 assists. Josh Hart, we're taking him to go over 2.5 points. Because we are able to take this on Underdog and not pay any juice whatsoever, we are getting this for basically 20xing our money. So if you put $10 on this one, you would profit $200. I can assure you, for this same exact slip, you are not getting that type of payout on the actual sportsbooks. They are going to decrease that payout by a significant amount because these plays are all positively correlated together. So this is our Underdog fantasy slip. You're probably asking, why are we playing 5 picks non-insured? If you click this little question mark here, it'll answer that question, why this parlay type. We've determined that non-insured is the best pick type for correlated Underdog fantasy slips. Since each leg is correlated, the odds of winning all legs is greater than a non-correlated slip. All that is saying is 5 picks non-insured is the best bang for your buck on Underdog. And because each leg is correlated together, this is more likely to hit than any standard Underdog fantasy entry because of their correlation. And to talk to you through about the 5 pick insurance, I want to go to the, this is just the DFS optimizer. Another really awesome way to find plays on different type of sports books that you're looking for. I mean, I can see 3 right here on Underdog. If you want to just quickly tail this, Wembanyama over 3 blocks, Ben Simmons over 6 assists, Chet Holmgren over 12.5 points. That's not the point. The point is if you click this drop down here where it says plus EV plays, it gives you every possible option in terms of entries that you can play on Underdog. And then in the parentheses, it gives you the odds. And all the odds is the implied odds per individual leg. Meaning, if you place a 2-pick non-insured entry on Underdog, each individual leg of the 2 would have the implied odds of minus 136. That's not great. 3 picks with insurance, minus 137. That's not great. 3 picks without insurance, minus 122. That's not bad. And then we see the 5 picks here. 5 picks insured, 5 picks non-insured are both good. For this slip, they're saying to go with non-insured, but insured is good as well, as along with 3 picks non-insured. So these 3 picks that I just gave out for tonight's NBA slate, also good. Put them in a 3-pick non-insured entry, and you are good to go. And that's why we're going with 5 picks non-insurance, because it's the best bang for your buck on Underdog. Some sports books, the DFS ones are different, right? For Prizepicks, it's a 6-pick flex, so it's dependent on each book. And so this is our Underdog fantasy entry, specifically in the Celtics versus Knicks game. Next up, technically our 3rd entry of this video. You're welcome for giving you 3 total entries to hammer. In the Mavericks versus Spurs game, our 5 picks are Kyrie Irving over 5.5 assists, Grant Williams over 9.5 points. Those 2 are correlated. Same logic before. Kyrie Irving is passing more. He's presumably not scoring more. If he's not scoring more, someone else is picking up the load. This time, let's hope it's Grant Williams. And then on the Spurs side, we're going Wembanyama over 1.5 assists, Jeremy Sohan over 10.5 points. Similar here. And then Zach Collins under 7.5 rebounds. To be honest, I'm not 100% sure what the correlation is with the under rebounds, but we saw it in both slips for Jrue Holiday and Zach Collins. So there is some sort of positive correlation there. And that is all we got. 3 Underdog fantasy slips for you guys to lock in. 2 of them found on the DFS, optimizer, the correlation tool. The second one, the third one, found on the optimizer. And that's all I got. So if you're tailing any and all 3 of these picks, make sure to comment and let us know. Other than that, remember to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff helps us out a ton. Appreciate everybody for watching.